One of the most important concepts in classical natural philosophy is movement. This concept, expressed by the Greek word kinesis, continues to be debated even today. It provides ample material and intrigue within the field of philosophy. It seems that since the time of the Milesian philosophers, the existence of an eternal and infinite movement has been accepted. The idea of not attributing kinesis to God is also seen in Xenophanes. The concept of movement began to be established in Greek philosophical texts, starting from fragments, and is directly examined within the literature of natural philosophy. In this sense, Aristotle's texts offer the most comprehensive perspective. The initial point where the term motion is sought can be seen in the definitions put forward regarding the concept of nature. To emphasize the difference between natural and unnatural things, Aristotle believes that natural things like animals and plants are different from inanimate objects, containing within themselves the principle of motion and rest. This leads us directly to the concept of nature. While Aristotle defines nature in metaphysics as the essence of beings that carry within themselves the principle of their motion, in physics it is emphasized that motion is the principle. For Aristotle, a complete understanding of motion will make it possible to know nature. Motion does not occur independently of objects. Change and motion occur in the categories of quality, quantity, and place. Therefore, motion can be divided into different types. Aristotle's definition of motion is quite important in this regard. Motion is the actualization and fulfillment of something that is potentially capable of being, because it is such a thing. To put it more clearly, motion is the actualization of what is potentially possible in terms of its potentiality. The growth of a child who has the potential to grow, as Aristotle understands it, expresses a motion change. Aristotle's definition of the transition of what is in a state of potentiality to actuality can be exemplified by house building. As the construction of the house continues, motion cannot be understood as either potentiality or actuality. The process of actualization requires both the inability to reach full potential and the continuity of the state of potentiality. According to another view, motion refers to activities that are incomplete and whose purpose is to end their own existence. As can be understood from the debates about the definition, Aristotle's understanding of motion is primarily established on the basis of a change of state. These changes of state are primarily based on three categories. According to the philosopher, in the case of quantitative change, there is motion of increase-decrease. When a change in quality occurs, there is motion of alteration. When a change in place is observed, there is motion of locomotion. In this sense, the idea that there is a difference between generation and corruption and alteration is a point that Aristotle draws attention to. For example, when air turns into water, it retains some of its properties, such as coldness and transparency. Thus, generation takes place. Alteration, on the other hand, can be illustrated by the example of a cultured person. Being cultured is a state, and even if culture disappears, the person will not change into something else, and what takes place will only be an alteration. These differences in the forms of emergence have also brought about different types of motion. In this case, motions of increase-decrease, locomotion and alteration stand out as prominent forms in the philosopher's conception of motion. However, the fundamental type of motion is locomotion, which is classified into two forms, linear and circular. Of these, circular motion is perfect, absolute and eternal, while linear motion cannot move infinitely. Circular motion is single and continuous. In Aristotle's philosophical universe, kinesis acts like the conductor of an orchestra. It is a fundamental rhythm that governs the nature of being, the flow of time, and the workings of the universe. Kinesis is the key to change, movement, and the transformation of potential into actuality. Let's explore together the significance of this concept in Aristotle's world of thought. 1. The language of change and motion. According to Aristotle, the universe is like a river that flows ceaselessly. Everything is in a constant state of change and motion. Kinesis is the encompassing language of this dynamism. From the transformation of an acorn into an oak tree to the dance of galaxies, Every change in nature is expressed through kinesis. In his work, Physics, Aristotle attempts to decipher this language of nature. 2. Transition from potential to actuality. Every being possesses a potential, a capacity within itself. Like a seed transforming into a tree, a child maturing into an adult. However, for this potential to become actual, to become real, it needs motion, a change. This transformation is what kinesis represents. It draws the map of the journey from potential to actuality. 3. The key to causality. Aristotle explains the change in beings with 4 causes: material, formal, efficient, and final causes. Kinesis is one of the most crucial links in this chain of causality. The efficient cause, the trigger for change, is closely related to kinesis. Kinesis helps us understand how and why beings change. Natural motion and the compass of purpose. Aristotle argues that every being has a telos, a purpose. Like a plant striving for maturity, fire tending to rise. Kinesis is the expression of this natural inclination, this progression towards a goal. To grasp the teleological, purpose-oriented structure of nature, kinesis is an indispensable concept. 5. The measure of time. Time, according to Aristotle, cannot exist without motion. Kinesis is the measure of time. The speed of change determines the flow of time. In a universe devoid of motion, time itself becomes meaningless. This perspective allows us to understand both physical processes and the development of beings. The language of the cosmos and nature. Aristotle's conception of the universe is built upon the concept of kinesis. Even the fact that the sublunar and supralunar worlds are subject to different laws of motion is a result of observations about kinesis. Kinesis is essential for deciphering the language of nature and comprehending the workings of the cosmos. In conclusion, kinesis in Aristotle's philosophy is the cornerstone of our understanding of being, nature, and the universe. It is through the concept of kinesis that we grasp the transformation of potential into actuality, the flow of time, and the rhythm of change in the universe. Entering Aristotle's world of thought begins with learning the language of kinesis.